Hello my friends, it's the Game Boy Geek here, and today you're a driver racing your car to the finish line. You'll be racing through dynamic courses and conditions, equipping your cars with stat-boosting modifications, sabotaging your opponents, and utilizing your team to gain the winning edge. World Auto Racing is a collectible card game for 2 to 5 players, takes about 30 minutes to play, is for ages 14 and up, and published by World Auto Racing LLC. It's on Kickstarter right now, so I'm going to show you how the game works, and I'll see you on the other side. This is a Kickstarter preview, so anything you see here is not final. You're going to want to check the Kickstarter link in the description of this video to see all the most updated art and components. World Auto Racing is for 2 to 5 players, and there are 5 pre-constructed decks, with each of these being one of the different cars. And towards the end, I'll show you how you can actually create your own decks as well. Now the cars are really cool because they have sort of this nice little foil on here. It looks really nice. Now the cars themselves have some different aspects and their decks are different from each other. There's 2 main things in the game. There's power and handling, and each car has a certain amount of both of those, and some of them have to do with other things and other cards you play. Some of them have different abilities and things like that. So we're going to get into this because at the end of the game you're trying to be the first to get to 100 progress points, and that's mainly going to be done by your power and your handling every round. Now once you have your car and your deck, now this is known as your garage, and over the course of the game you're going to be drawing from your garage into your hand, and at the beginning of the game you get to have 5 cards from your shuffled garage into your hand. And at the beginning of the game you actually get 1 mulligan where you can shuffle those cards back in and draw 5 new ones just once per game at the beginning. Now the game is played over multiple rounds, and each round players are going to be either playing or activating cards, starting with the player who's actually the furthest, who has the most progress points, who's closest to winning, and going down through to the person that has the least amount of points. Now our car, the Raven, at the end of the round, if we had no cards in front of us, which isn't going to be the case because we're going to play some, but our default power is 2 and our default handling is 4, so at the end of the round, if we had no cards in front of us and there were no extra course cards or anything like that out, we would get 2 plus 6 in this case. We'd have 6 progress points, but let's show you how you can increase that. Now on your turn, you're either going to play a card or activate a card or pass, and once you pass you're done for the round. And so here we're going to add a card. Now one of the types of cards you can add is a mod or a modification, and cards will have a mod cap, so you can have no more than 3 mods. Now most of the cards in this game you can only play one of that type per round. So now that I've played a mod, I wouldn't be able to play another one this round because we're going to play a card or activate it, and then it's going to be the next player's turn, and we keep going in this way until everyone has passed, and that will end the round. So that literally would have been my turn, and it goes around. Let's say it comes back to me. Instead of playing a card, I could do this. This says action. I could then uninstall this mod, which is basically taking it here and putting it into my discard pile, which essentially is called the junkyard. And then we could search the garage for any mod, and we reveal it and put it into our hand and then shuffle the garage. Pretty cool. So you can look to get the one that you really want. Now this tells us that it's a mod. It also tells us a subtype, and certain cards and effects will have to do with subtypes, and a make. And we'll see here in just a minute that certain things have to do with the makes of things. Now instead of that other mod, let's say we did this one. Now some of them have stages. This one is Rejects Club Tune 1. And this shows you it's stage 1, it's a mod, it's an engine, and it's the make is Rejects. Now, we would apply +1 power and +1 handling for each active Rejects mod installed. This is considered one mod. So you can see there's a little bit of engine building here. Funny little word there, bringing in an engine, where we would get 1 power, 1 handling for each of these that we have here. Now, this is a power of 1. Now, in a future round, because you can only play 1 mod card per round, we might upgrade this to a level 2, and now it gives us +2 power and handling for each Rejects. And in a future round, we might upgrade that to a 3, which adds 3 power and 3 handling for each of these active Rejects mods installed. Now this is still considered one mod because it's basically one staged modification. But let's say in a future round we played this one, Rejects Club Warranty. It's also Rejects. Now, this has a check. So when one of our mods would be junked, sometimes things will get junked and they'll go back to our junkyard, or uninstalled, which is when we decide to uninstall it, you may uninstall this mod instead. So it's kind of like a little bit of a warranty, if you will. That's why it's called the Rejects Club Warranty, but it is a Rejects and it is a mod. So here's apply +3 power and +3 handling for each active Rejects mod installed. Well, this is one. And this is one. Or maybe in a future round, we put in wide tires as a mod. Now, tires don't count towards the mod cap. Right now, we have 2, and this one doesn't count, so we still have 2. We could still add a 3rd mod after this one in a future round. Now, you can see this ability says that you can apply +2 power if a straight was played this round, or if the current course is straight. So let's talk about courses. Now, a card that a player might play is a course card, and this goes sort of in the middle of the table because it affects everybody. Now, we talked about straights with that last modification, because with that wide tire, you'd get +2 power if the straight was played this round, or if the active course is a straight. This is now the active course. It's a long straight, and it's going to apply ×2 power and 0 handling. So it's going to be great for if you have a lot of power progress this turn, but this ends up getting scrapped during, at the end of the round. But for right now, this is going to be good for a round when it's there with these wide tires, because it's going to give us +2 power because it's a long straight, plus that long straight is going to give us a big multiplier, as we'll show you in the end here. Now, another card type you can play on your turn is a trait. This sort of is a trait of your driver. And this is, you may play an additional mod each round. Now, this will stay out here with your mods at the end of each round. And so instead of just playing 1 mod card per round, you now could play more than 1. Now, you can only have 1 trait out at once, so if you play a different trait, this one will get junked and go to your junkyard. Another type of card you can play is a team card, and these represent your access to resources or major events that impact the race. Now, these go below your card to remind you that these will end up getting junked to your discard pile, the junkyard, at the end of each round, but it gives you an ability like discard your hand, then draw 2 more cards than you discarded this way. Or maybe Refurbish allows you to install a mod from your junkyard, and it doesn't count as playing a mod for the round. Another type of card that you can play, again, below your card because they'll get scrapped at the end of the round, is a control card. Now, these are small actions, swift corrections, and little tweaks that can affect various aspects of the race. Like, for example, this is a sponsor. You could choose a make, then draw a card for each active mod you have installed of that make. Remember the make rejects? This could help with that. Now, unlike all the other kinds of cards, you can actually play more than 1 control per round, still just 1 per turn, but more than 1 per round. Like this one, the improvised install. Now, remember when we did this, we had to go from 1 to 2 to 3. And this allows you, your next stage 2 mod that you play this round does not require the corresponding active stage 1. So you could start with a level 2 if you have the improvised install. And the last type of card I haven't showed you yet is a condition. And much like the course, it goes in the middle of the play area and affects everybody. Like this was the player that had this card that played this, and now this player in their deck played gutters. I mean, this is a condition. And each driver applies -1 power and -1 handling for each control card they've played this round. So these affect the race as well. Now, once all players have passed, you then go to the progress phase where you're going to see how much progress you've made. It's essentially trying to get to 100 progress to win. Think of them as points, if you will. Now here we have the Raven that has a base 2 power and a 4 of the handling. Now, we would have added more handling if the course had been a corner, which is actually in this player's deck, but it wasn't. If you remember, we're on a long straight right now. So let's look at power first. We have 2, plus we're gonna get +3 power for each active rejects mod. We have 1 here and 1 here, so that's 2 of those. So that's 6 plus 2 is 8. Now here we have +2 on the power if we're on a straight, which if you remember, we are on here. Which we are on right now, so we are going to get this +2, so now that we're at a power of 10, but we have to get -1 power for each control card we've played. So we have 2 control cards played this round, so now we go down 2, so now we're back down to 8. And since we're on this straight course, we apply ×2, so 8 times 2 is 16. So just for power, we would get 16 progress points. Now you keep track of this with paper or pencil or with dice, but those do not come with the game. Now let's look at our handling. We get 4 by default. Now remember, we would have gotten +2 if we were handling on a corner. And just to show you some more details, if we had played a corner here, remember it affects everybody, the power would have been ×1, but this would have been ×2 for handling, where the straight is better with power and less with handling. So you're gonna try to change the course depending on what the strategy of your deck and what you have out at that time. So we have just the 4 for the handling, but we get +3 handling for each active reject. So we have 1, 2 of those. So 6 plus 4, we're at 10. But remember, because of these gutters, we've got to get -1 for each of those. So again, we're at 8. But hey, we're on a long straightaway, so handling doesn't matter, ×0. So that handling did us no good this round because of that long straight. Now I have these cards facing us so it's easier to read from camera, but the player who had played this would have played it facing them. So we know, because now if I had played this one, this is the active one. This would have been great for the handling, but now it's good for the power. But it's possible that someone might cause someone to junk this, which would now make this one, be the one that's active for this turn again. And I'm putting it this way so you can read it. Then after one's done their progress phase, we're gonna go to the scrap phase, where you're gonna junk all the team and the control cards played. Remember, all the ones down here go right to your junkyard, which is your discard pile, but all the mods and the traits stay here. Then you're going to refuel, which is drawing cards from your garage up until you have 5 total in your hand. But if you ever run out, you're simply out of fuel and you'll have to just coast with whatever card you have in your hand. Now I showed you the pre-constructed decks, but you can customize, which is selecting any one of the cards, and then creating your deck from any of these between 44 and 59 cards, and you can't have more than 4 copies of the same card in your garage. Also, after this Kickstarter fulfills, there'll be more cards available to purchase. Unlike most collectible card games, they're going to sell all the cards in pre-made decks and also have randomized boosters featuring alternative artworks, special foils, etc. of the existing card base. That way it avoids the bad feeling of pay to win with the excitement of chasing for something cool. Well, there you have World Auto Racing, and as I showed in the overview, you'll be managing your garage, playing cards, and trying to be the first to the finish line of the progress points of 100. Now, if you'd like to see the final art and components and all the different pledge levels available, you can click the link below me right in the description of this video. Now, that's going to take you directly to the Kickstarter project page, and I'm sure that World Auto Racing LLC would love your support.